little bit dark, but we are live. There we go. Even though it seems a little bit dark.
We're live. We're dark and we're live.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
So
Jay's good at doing this. I'm new to it, so I'm just trying to figure it all out. Just got the link posted on my page, learned how to do that. So look at all these things I'm learning.
Facebook Live is a bit of an adventure. I'm just trying to adjust this so we are both in there.
I think this is blocking the light. See? When I move the
Okay.
There we go. We'll
we
move
put
the
it
mic
down there, and in theory, then you'll be
there.
very loud.
And that's a little bit of brightness. Anyway.
So this is not really, my little office here is not really set up for a two-person shoot, but it is today. And I'm so glad that we're doing this.
Yeah, me too.
So we are here today. And by the way, a couple things about this I should remember. If we share these things all over the place. So if you actually want to come in and chat with us and ask questions and all those sort of things, you can either click on the video, depending upon your system, or you can just click on the little JVology button up there, and it'll take you to the broadcast page. When you get to the broadcast page, you can use the chat window to say hello, tell us who you are, tell us where you're from, all those fun, wonderful things. Hola, so good to see you.
Hi. That's cool.
Yes, it is. So short version is this. We are in the midst of preparing for something that we haven't done in basically 15 years. Yeah. Which is doing a couples weekend, but it's a brand new couples weekend. And I know there's been lots of people who've been interacting with us. It's like, I did the couples weekend at Personal Best like 25 years ago, and I can't wait for you to do it again. But this is not that.
It's not that. It'll be a little bit of that, but mostly not that.
Mostly not that.
So that's good for all of you who have already taken some of our couples weekends and retreats and have inquired about doing it again, or, trying out the new material that we're planning, and this will be new for sure.
So our purpose today, pretty simple and straightforward, is for us to kind of give the background for people about what we're doing, what's different about it, why people should attend, all those fun, wonderful things. So why don't you sort of start with the high level, because I got to get the sharing of the page up and running. Okay.
Okay. About like how we met. Do you want to go back when we were born? How far back are we going?
I think we should probably give, because lots of people know our story, many people don't.
Yeah, and this is true. So for a lot of you on here, you probably know Jay, and you've been following Jay on through JVology, through his JVology shows. I've always been more, for the most part, other than when we worked together at Personal Best and I facilitated, I've been more in the background. So I have not had my face out there a whole lot. And we met 35-ish years ago. So we've been together
since we were three.
Since we were three. We met a really long time ago.
We did. We were high school sweethearts, in fact.
Yeah.
And we courted.
1984.
Yeah. We courted for 10 years before, rushing the altar.
Rushing the altar after a decade. And we should also just say in those 10 years, we did take breaks. Yep. We were really young. I was 16, he was 17. You were 17. I'm going the wrong way. And so, we needed to kind of play the field a little bit, and we did that. We had, we were together, we were apart, we were together a couple of times.
I think the most important thing about that is that even if we weren't always intimate, we were always dear friends. Like even when you were seeing somebody else and Cory was sick, I was the one who took her to the hospital. When I had a business fiasco and needed money to go to well, it was turned out to be college, to go to SAIT, she loaned me the money. When we weren't dating, but we were still always in a relationship and always maintained an incredible friendship through the goods, the bads, the ups, the downs, which I think is the foundation of really why 35 years later, we are still together, and perhaps more importantly, happily together.
Yeah. And like you said, even when we were apart, I always knew you were there, like you were always there if I needed anything. Like he was just always a good friend. So in those times.
That's a little bit of a private joke. We're talking about being a really good friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we got married in 1995, and we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. Which
was freaking awesome and better than I would ever have dreamt 25 years earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we waited 10 years before our first kid, and another 5 years before our second kid. So we don't jump into things. Let's put it that way. We don't, dive into things quickly.
Not generally.
And I think that speaks to and the reason we share that with you is, for those of you that don't know our history, it speaks to, us having gone through a whole lot of ups and downs in our relationship, through the dating, through the marriage, through having kids, running a business together. There's been, just our parents, illness, sickness, Alzheimer's. Like, we've had we've had a blessed life, but we've gone through a lot together, and we can, I guess, relate and recognize how challenging that can be for couples to do.
Mm-hmm. Which is why this weekend that we're coming up to, which, by the way, is at the beginning of February in 2021. So, in terms of getting in and going, those sort of things, you got lots of time. But what it's called is the power between a couple's reset. And for us, I think at the beginning of COVID, well, no, I don't think at the beginning of COVID. At the beginning of COVID, we really had a reset of what our priorities were, how we are going to, and of course we were quickly approaching our 25th wedding anniversary. And it was like, do we want the next 25 years to be the same as the previous 25 years? And for both of us, that was a pretty clear, resounding no. It was like, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad. It wasn't difficult. It was just, you and I have both used the word meh, but meh isn't really it. It was like,
well, and it wasn't meh for the whole 25 years.
No.
It was meh for about the last decade.
Last 10 years.
Yeah. It was, it was just.
And there was lots of reasons for that. I mean, we went through an incredible amount of changes in an incredibly short span of time. We sold a business. Your dad passed away. We had our second son.
We bought a new home.
We
sold our homestead, our, building.
The licensing agreement that we did went south, and we had to step back in. I started a new business. We tried to learn digital marketing. Like there was so many things that transpired. I mean, you ended up with shingles, for goodness sakes. Like, there were so many changes, and it was so stressful.
My father passed away. And then my mom, there was a whole lot going on in a short period of time.
Which I think we coped with, but coping and creating, as we all know, are two radically and dramatically different things. Mm-hmm. And so at the beginning of COVID, we really started looking at each other about, so what could this be? How could this look? If we were to really, truly, genuinely say, great, we sort of navigated our way through some of the difficulties that lots of couples can't and don't. But we land at a spot where we're not just completely fulfilled. We're not incredibly passionate. I used to, before COVID, I traveled a lot. And one of the jokes that we've been telling each other is there were times there was she couldn't wait for me to travel and I couldn't wait to get on a plane. It was we could use a little break from one another because we were bugging each other. And when I say bugging each other, I just mean that we had set up a method and a process of communicating that fundamentally worked for navigating and coping, but didn't work for intimacy, didn't work for having our needs fulfilled, didn't work for having wild sex. It didn't work for creating time together. It was a coping mechanism, not a creating mechanism. And that's really what the power between is about, is addressing and getting clear that we are not here to cope, for crying out loud. If we have chosen one another for our life partners, then for crying out loud, we should do something about that, as opposed to, even the joke of good friends.
We fell into, and this is one of the reasons we're doing this weekend is in having conversations with friends and other people. How many couples go through this and are in this right now, and how the COVID quarantine and being at home in your face 24/7 brought this to the surface for a lot of people, is just going through life as, friends. And, we love each other, but we're friends, and having issues and things that you want to talk about and you want to address and you want to bring up, and you try to, but there's so much resentment. And this was true for us. There was so much resentment there, and frustration and anger, that we weren't communicating. So we try to have these conversations, and we would just end up arguing with each other and calling it off. So many people I've talked to are we need, I feel like we need a reset. I feel like we need something to just kickstart us. I feel like we got to get back on track. How do we do that? And we're in the same boat. Like the beginning of this year, we were there. I get you.
100%. And I think the key piece is that we've had, and by the way, if you've had hardship and difficulty through COVID, my heart goes out to you. I get that. Now, and it hasn't been the smoothest thing for us, but truthfully, our hashtag has been like hashtag best pandemic ever.
We got the time to talk now.
Well, exactly.
Figure it out.
so I think that was one of the greatest gifts of COVID was the time that we got to spend together, and the commitment that we made to one another about, look, this can't be the same old, and
right.
And both of us were very clear about that. And I think if any of you are interested in participating in the Power Between, I'm going to share the website here momentarily. If you're interested in participating in the Power Between, the premise here is that you are committed and in.
Right.
And
because I was just going to say, who is this for?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important foundation. Like you said, you need to be committed in the relationship. I think to really successfully go through the process of what we have planned, you definitely need to be committed.
but the rewards will be the best ever. Like we can genuinely say in 35 years that this is the strongest that we have been. This is the most intimate that we have been. This is the clearest that we have been. This is the best things have been in the bedroom. This is the best things have been in terms of communication. This is the best we've been in terms of working together. This is the best we have been in every single way under the sun. And
I feel like we're back in, and I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about kind of the love styles, but it feels like we're back in romance, but with
a clue.
Yeah. Because in romance and stages of relationships, for those of you that have done our other couples work, we talk about this quite a bit. When you first meet someone, and it's like the tingles and the butterflies and, oh, there they are. Look at them. They're so perfect. And nothing is wrong with that person. It's my, he's my knight in shining armor, like blah, 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 blah. I feel like we're back in romance, but with the knowledge and the wisdom and the 35 plus years of intimacy. And that's a real cool place to be, to have that back and still have everything else that we've built up over the years, the knowledge of who each other is. And it's a completely different space. I agree. Yeah. And it's been fun and it's been difficult and there's been everything in there and there's been a lot of hard conversations, but it's brought us to that spot.
Yeah, it's been quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So I thought we should share the premise of the Power Between at its core. And this weekend, in a nutshell, is designed to do this. And it might be better if we just make this full screen so you can see it a little bit better. Let's see if that's going to work. Okay. So here's the premise in a nutshell is that between couples, there is always this power dynamic. And the truth is the power dynamic is either doing one thing or the other. It is the power between is actually attracting, magnifying, strengthening, and moving the individuals and the couple, the relationship itself, up a positive spiral that quite literally is about trust. It is about truth. It is about connection. It is about acceptance. It's about joy. It's about intimacy. And here's the honest to God truth about this. And this was a bullshit story. I actually just want to pull this away for a brief moment. This was a bullshit story that I told myself. And I don't want to speak for you in this, but I think that there was some truth to it, is that we believed or wanted to believe is perhaps a better way, that we're just maintaining. We're sort of in the same spot. It's like, maybe it's not great, but it's not bad, but we're sort of in the same spot. And I would propose to everybody watching this is that that's bullshit. Like it's utter and complete bullshit. One of two things is happening. We are either in the upward spiral, evolving, growing, magnifying, strengthening, loving, evolving, or we are actually in a downward spiral. Now, just to be clear about this, the spiral doesn't have to be fast. I mean, we spent 10 years, I'm going to say, coping and managing and trying to do all those sorts of things. Sometimes that spiral is a hell of a lot faster, let's be clear. But it's one or the other. And I think the honest to goodness truth for us in terms of this choice to choose in and this choice to figure out, so what is this going to look like? What are your needs? What are my needs? How are we going to fulfill this? What does this actually look like? So we just tell the truth is that we were in a spot where the power between was pulling us down. It was not a spiral upwards, but the story we wanted to say was that it's just the same old, same old. We're sort of in the same spot.
Sorry, my Facebook page I just read Cortina's note. I don't know if she was on my page, but it just says going live soon. It isn't actually going live on there, which is fine. I was just checking that.
If you just hit the...
That's okay. We can play it.
Okay. Yeah, it is there.
Oh, okay. That's your page, but that's all right.
Well, it's always my page, but just to be clear about this, we shared it from this page, so that's why it says that, but that's how that is.
Okay.
Learning! Just have to like hit refresh and away it goes.
Okay.
So anyway, we're in this, which by the way, here would be a great example of the power between. So for 10 years, I was asking Cory to learn technology, like things like Excel spreadsheets.
I hate them.
And her actually, it was usually that look with this is usually what I got back. But I'm teasing. I'm teasing in a little bit of way. But the other part to this is that seriously, since we have been going through this process, you have learned more software, you have learned more technology, you have learned more processes in literally 3 months than you did in previous 10 years. And that's about us really getting clear about what it means to actually magnify one another's strengths, what it means to be on one another's team, what it means to actually get behind one another in a meaningful manner. Right.
And I would agree with that. There's a note from, Carrie and Des did the couples course years ago.
Hey, Carrie, good to see you. And just on that note, Carrie, I wouldn't wait. And I mean this in all seriousness. How we have designed the power between, which is radically and dramatically different than what you and Des did before. How it is designed is actually really designed for the two of you. How's that for?
There you are. They only need to see half your head.
We'll just use this part here. But seriously, how we designed it is for the two of you to actually spend the time together. It is far less about what you might be used to over in the older personal best style. Right. But you will certainly have interaction with other couples in terms of the Zoom and those sort of things. But what we recommend for people is register for it, book a hotel room for the weekend so that you are separate from all those sorts of things, because there is home play.
Well, yes. And it's just to be in your own space and just be with each other for like 2 full days, 2.5 days. I think that's not a have to. But if you have like little kids running around and you have, perhaps lots of distractions and you work at home or whatever, I think it would be a really great idea if you could do that and just separate yourself. I think it would provide the opportunity for you to create lots more value.
Honest God, I just wouldn't wait for the live event.
Who knows when those will happen?
Yes.
But yeah, we don't obviously have any control over that, but we'll... so much is being adapted for virtual, and we have some exciting plans to make it great. Yeah,
it's I'm searching for the right words, but it's I feel like, and by the way, you're not alone. I've had a bunch of people who've done the old stuff. It's like, great, I can't wait to be back. And I'm like, yeah, that's all well and fine.
Yeah, I get it.
I do too, 100%, but it is not, and I'll speak for myself because I got 2 things going on for me. And when I read that, the first of which is, don't make any assumptions based on what you have seen and experienced before, because it ain't the same. In terms of where we're at, in terms of what the objective of it is, in terms of what the content is, in terms of how the content is going to be delivered, in terms of what you two are going to be doing on your own. Nothing the same. So there's that piece to it. And then the other piece to it is, and I'm not a big one for regret. Like that is not something that I carry around in a big way. It's not really me, but I got to tell you, one of the most consistent things that we do, and part and parcel of what we're going to be talking about, is the creation of rituals. And at the very beginning of this, we made an agreement about a new ritual that we had never, ever done before. And fundamentally, that ritual is every single night we'll either have a tub together or have a quick shower and just spend time talking, and not just talking about what we used to talk about, which was the mechanics of our life, business, day, banking, all the
fun stuff to talk about before you go to sleep.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, I'm feeling hot already. It's like, well, are you sure you transferred that money to the other account? How sexy.
Yeah, you got to set all that stuff aside.
Anyway, my point about the regret, which I have had a twinge of regret, is And we've had this conversation over and over and over again. It's like, wow, what if we could have created this 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago?
Right.
And I have this little sort of pang of, this has been so effing awesome, beautiful, and stunning. I just wish I could have accessed it before. And I think that for whatever reason, COVID was a blessing. Where we're at was a blessing. The boys are a little bit like, there's a whole bunch of cool things that transpired that I think kicked this where it had to be today. But anyway, my point to this is, I wouldn't want anyone to wait to create the greater depth and experience. And I think it's one of those other parts. And I'd love your perspective about this, Cor. Is that when it's not bad, it doesn't feel like there's this big need. Like it didn't feel like there was this big need. And then from today, looking back 4 years, it's like, oh dear God.
Right. Well, it's like the frog in the boiling water, right? You just get used to how things are. And I mean, I don't know what to add to that other than you just get used to it and it just becomes normal. And I think the story a lot of us tell ourselves, are you sharing that yet or no? And I know the story I was telling myself is, oh, we've been together this many years. We have 2 kids. We're both super busy. He travels a lot. This is just kind of the way it is. And this is just sort of what happens after a long period of time. And it's fine. It's fine. And also, I have shared with you quite a bit is I always had in the back of my head, Jay will always be there. He's like, Jay's my rock. He's the family guy. He takes care of us. He, he's really good at always been really good at keeping your agreements with me. And he's built up trust. Like he's just always going to be there. So then there's that complacency that kind of sets in. Not really pushing to try new things, different things, go outside the box because this is just the way it's going to be. He's always going to be there. We're always going to be here and we'll just continue on our merry way doing what we're doing. And like you said, it was like, meh. So that's what I would add to it. And then having the agreement and creating a space to have those conversations that have to happen, but you've been putting off for 10 years. I don't know, for you, it might be a few months I would, but they're not conversations that we're jumping up and down to have. So, if you've been in a long-term relationship, you know what I'm talking about. It's just really, really being willing and able to have those conversations. And that was tough for us. All the work we've done and all the, personal development courses. And I think the thing that we did wrong is we kind of thought, well, we don't really need to reach out to anyone for support or help or counseling because we know this stuff. We know this. We got it figured out. And we were having trouble.
That was a horrible error. Talking
to each other.
And when you said, having trouble having the conversations or avoiding the conversations, it's the truth is at times we did. Let's be clear about this. But it's not like we weren't willing to have the conversations. We tried, but we would just get so pissed off at one another because we established these hot buttons that the very thing that she needed to talk to me about was the thing that set me off and triggered my core wounds of everything. And then the very thing I needed from her actually set her off as well. So it's not like we didn't try to have the conversations, but they were freaking unpleasant, unsuccessful. And actually going back to the model of the power between, it actually accelerated and moved us further down. Because the truth is the power between is either moving us forward and bringing us together, or it is slowly or quickly moving us apart. And that is the pattern that we had to face and break. And honest to God, that was one of the most powerful things in the universe. And including, by the way, we hired a coach. We did a variety of work that we will share with everybody in the process that just helped put a different frame around those conversations and made something pretty fantastic and amazing.
And we knew we had to do things completely different. Like we really committed to each other to step outside, not just a little outside the box, but way outside the box. So yeah.
The other, just on that note, is that the early mantra for us was that we were both dedicated to shifting what we nicknamed the wall of no's into a sea of yeses. And it doesn't mean that everything we tried was marvelous and wonderful, amazing, all those sorts of things, but it was just that we were no longer going to make a default assumption without diving in. And, you know, what's that old saying? It's like, I'll try anything once, and if I like it, maybe twice. You know, it just became this whole thing. It was like, well, we haven't tried it before, so we should.
Yeah.
You know, it's just as simple as that. And that became sort of the mantra. Now, Brian, that's a good question of, do you imagine this to be the same process for a single person? Instinctually, I would say no, that there are certainly some threads to the self-discovery, some threads to the truth-telling, some threads to the clarity of what it is that, and I'll speak for myself, that I really need. And I had a pretty clear vision of it. It's like, so, you know, we're getting a little bit older. You know, I'm heading to my 54th birthday, which boggles my brain. Because I swear to God, my internal development is like 13.
And I'm going to be in my 30s soon. Getting really old.
That's crazy. Anyway, my point to it is that I did at the beginning of this get really clear about there's mortality. Like my dad passed last year, and I think that was actually also a pretty significant impetus to this, which was life is precious and there isn't that much time left. And it would be nice for us to sort of get our shit together before we're old and decrepit.
Yeah.
You know, like that. So there was that oomph to it. So Brian, I think that there's similarities for the personal awareness, commitment, and clarity. But the thing about us truly and genuinely getting on one another's side about it for ourselves and each other, that to me was where this whole model of the power between became our conversation. So I think similar, but not the same.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Do you want to show anything else from the website?
I'm not sure. We have a page that was created, and it gives just some information on. We could scroll through it. There we go. Who we are, a little bit more information on the weekend. I think the page covers quite a bit of it. Yeah. And
I should add to this, you know, so we talked about the power between piece here. And then, you know, what does it mean in practical terms? Like what has actually changed for us? And since COVID, between the two of us, Cory and I have lost 60 pounds. And I say to people when they ask about it, it's like, geez, you guys look different. It's like, well, you know, I think that we lost 60 pounds of physical weight and probably 1,000 pounds of emotional weight and shit we were carrying between us.
Yeah, because in the beginning, I'm cut off on there. Am I? Okay. In the beginning, it was interesting stepping on the scale, and we weren't even at that point, I don't think, exercising really yet much. The weight was just coming off. And it was a huge part of that was just having the conversations. And there's a lot to carry around when you're just not communicating. And it stays, of course, it's in you I there's lots of different ways.
Between us emotionally and not in a good way.
Yeah. Health. I was always tired, you know, all of that's gone. It's all gone. And it's been a radically, all of this too has been radically life-changing in terms of our just individually, physically, how we feel and how our bodies have responded to what we needed to clear up between the two of us and where we've gotten to through that. So that's been a huge part of it. Not just the two of us, but individually as well.
Brian's question is gave up wine. And actually,
no, that's one thing we didn't give up.
The exact opposite, Brian. Honestly, I swear to God, my body thinks that wine is a food group now.
It's totally.
And with our evening ritual of sitting in the tub, it was always sitting in the tub with a glass of wine and having a talk. Yeah, so no, my wine consumption is frankly way too high.
And Brian, you know that. You've been here. Every time you're here, we have wine. My cleaner, she comes every while, and I give her all our empty bottles. And last weekend she was here and she goes, "Oh, you've had a party." I'm like, "No, we haven't actually."
But we have had a lot of good, we haven't had a lot of good tub talks.
We're not having parties during COVID, really. We're not, but we had a lot of wine bottles. So,
but I think that and I've had people ask me this in terms of on our team and those sorts of things, is that, like, are you really working out? Are you lifting weights? Did you get a coach? Did you do it? And it's like, I the best way I can say it is that all that transpired was that I got clear about what was important for me. Cory got clear about what was important for her. And we got clear about how we were going to do our best to create that with and for each other.
Yeah.
And in doing so, our bodies kind of went back to our, I'm going to say, normal or natural selves.
Mm-hmm.
The best way I could put that.
Yeah.
Brian says, I'm going to get married ASAP. We highly recommend it.
And to, just add to that, Jay, how many times I've said, I feel like myself again. I feel like I'm myself again. And I feel that way about you too. I feel like you are back to yourself. And when we were in Vancouver for our anniversary and we're walking down the street, I said to Jay, even your stroll is different. Even your walk is different. Your pacing is different. You're just more, you're not so stomp, 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 stomp. You're much more just like flowing, and just light on your feet. And I hadn't really noticed, but it even changed how you walked. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of shocking to me that when I really saw that, just to see how that has shifted everything in our bodies.
Well, and just going back to the wall of no's, the C's of yes, is the little picture here on the left with us wearing our bike helmets. Mm-hmm. That was us downhill mountain biking in Kicking Horse, which frankly, before this, the odds of me getting Cory on a bike going up a mountain in a gondola to come back down would be exactly zero. Exactly. I may in fact be rounding up to say that it would be exactly zero, but it's just those pieces that we just chose to change and supported one another in that change, because it wasn't always a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination, but it was just that whole thing of how are we going to do this? So did you want to do anything about the love styles and triangles and those sorts of things? Because
if we can show that briefly, because I think that gives people a snapshot of like what happens in long-term relationships.
Framing it, because I think you emailed it to me, right? And I'll pull it up.
I did email it to you.
I'll just take a minute.
Anyway,
give the overview.
Yeah, I'd like to have it up before I talk about it, because I don't want to get the names of the.
Here we go.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this information we've covered in past couples weekends that we've done. And it's pretty basic. Yeah. It talks about your love style. And I don't remember the source for this. I wish I knew where we got this from. We didn't make this up. It came from one of the books that we used in researching years ago for the couples, but it still applies today. So each triangle has a different side. There's passion, there's intimacy, and there's commitment. And then depending on how those play out, you're in a different style of love. You got it?
It's coming in one moment.
Okay.
Just got a screen share.
Oh, you're good at that. Thank God you're doing that. I wouldn't have a clue. Oh my God.
There you go.
Okay. Is that up there?
It is now.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, commitment, passion, and intimacy. And then you can just scroll through. So when obviously the intimacy and the commitment, is that the first one? Foolish love?
No, that one.
Okay, romantic love. So that's in the beginning of a relationship. No, that's the foolish love that's at the beginning of a relationship. So the passion and the intimacy in romantic love is high, but commitment is low. The foolish love is, high passion, high commitment, and low intimacy. You don't really know the other person yet. But you're committed to getting to know them, and you've got the passion high in the relationship. And then the companionable love is the one where we fell into, where passion takes a back seat. Passion, excitement, whatever word, sexual intimacy, whatever word you want to use there. And commitment and intimacy is high. And that's where this companionable love is where a lot of long-term relationships, I think, settle in.
Okay, and I just want to add to that, because I think one of the pieces
I hope I'm not yelling, because I'm right beside, if I'm yelling, I'm sorry, I'm right beside the microphone.
I'm way over here.
I'm probably really loud and they could probably hardly hear you.
And what's interesting is that we taught that material before, and there's something interesting to me about it in terms of the intimacy, was that we created a pattern where we knew more about what our partners wanted and needed than we were willing to deliver, because some of the negative patterns, because some of the hurt feelings, because some of the unmet expectations, because some of the just plain old getting wore down by life,
right?
Is that the passion piece here, which I want to just pop up to be clear about this. And if any of you are wanting or interested in the power between to increase passion, because, I mean, I think I can say this, is that in 7 months of COVID, we've had what used to be, like, in terms of our overall average, like 10 years of sex.
He likes to talk about that.
I do. I'm really freaking happy about that. And just to be clear, but it's not.
I always say it's a guy thing.
No, it's not just
I know
a guy
it's
thing.
not, but
it is a tangible measure that has, I think, fed our souls. It has fed our commitment. It has fed our clarity. It has fed our intimacy. It has been a driving force in this. And the key piece, and why I wanted to bring this slide up again, is that it is exactly the opposite of what we did before, which was we knew at times what our partner wanted and needed, and we didn't do it out of resistance, out of reaction, out of hurt feelings, out of disappointment, all those sorts of things. And I think that's probably one of, I'm willing to bet that is one of the key contributing factors to relationships falling into companionable love. And you and I have been talking to, like, and I should just add one thing, is that we didn't just, like, at the beginning of COVID in March, and it's like in May, it's like, hey, we should do a couples weekend. Like that ain't how this happened at all.
Trust me. We were like, what's happening?
Hey, Denise. Good to see you, Denise and Tom.
Hey.
For us, it was like we sort of dove into this exploration. We started having a bunch of conversations with a bunch of friends and associates and people that we knew and all those sorts of things. And it's like, we are not alone, and people doing a variety of different things to get themselves back on track.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, over time, it was like, do you think we should? And it's like, well, here we are, I guess, 9 months into this, and feeling clearer and more grounded and all those sorts of things, perhaps than we have ever been. And it's like, you know what, let's just create a space to share the pathway, share what has worked, share what has not worked, and create a conversation around what naturally happens in relationships that most folks don't want to talk about.
Right. It's true. 7 types of love relationships. Thanks, Brian.
I have not read that, Brian, but I will totally check it out. I'm just going to add this back in, and then we can do the last one. Oh, I'm going to do it over here.
Companionable. Oh, yeah. Consummate. So, and this is the beautiful part about this. So the triangle that has the close to equal sides of intimacy, passion, and commitment to create consummate love. And I think that's a goal. I think that's a good goal for all relationships to have, is where do we need to put our effort and our time and our attention to? For some of you, it may be the intimacy. For some of you, it may be the passion. For some of you, it may be the commitment.
Okay, so on that note, why don't we just talk briefly about some of the key things that we're going to cover. So, okay. I think one of the most important things for us, and as each of you considers if you want to do this, and I will put the website in again just while we're chatting about it. Where did I put that? I might just have to type it in again.
I'm just checking. I think we talked about a lot of the conversations that we said we wanted to share, and we're going to do this again. The weekend is happening in February, so we're planning some things leading up to that as well with, I don't know, with the people who are already registered and to come to have some conversations together prior to the actual weekend. So there's going to be some fun things coming up around that. We should also mention we are planning during the Power Between weekend to bring in a couple of different people that do relationship work, and we'll offer some other things to the everybody there on the side, that I think is really cool and valuable, and
helped us tremendously in terms of breaking the patterns of the conversation and the triggers that cause the power between to move us apart as opposed to together. So we'll share some specific people that we have gotten support from.
Yeah.
And I think the other part to keep in mind about, and we'll help you prepare for this as we get closer to the power between, is that rituals and sanctuary are probably two of our biggest, maybe rituals, sanctuary, and exclusive date nights might be three of the key elements that I want to just plant a seed with. Is that our evening ritual and the commitment that we made at the beginning of this of we would always have a bath or a shower, all those sorts of things in terms of spending quality time together. We would always spend and make space for
I call it Tub Talks with Jay. That's what I nicknamed it. Because it'd be like, we would spend hours and hours just Tub Talks with Jay. Man, I'm working through a lot of stuff here. This is great. You're really helpful. You're naked and you're helpful. So the two kind of go together. But whatever your ritual will be, it's important you enjoy it.
Yes. So we will be helping you create some rituals. Then the next piece of that is sanctuary. Is that we really did transform our bedroom into a space of sanctuary for the two of us. And honest to goodness, pre-COVID to today, it doesn't even feel remotely the same in any way, shape, or form. Like, it just absolutely does not feel the same. And we'll share a bunch of the processes. Yes.
Michelle, she's laughing at that. She thinks we could market that, Tub Talks with Jay. I had that thought, Michelle. I'm like, we could trademark this and Jay could have Tub Talks with other people, but not sure. In his bathing suit, maybe. You and the naked tax guy. Anyway, let's move on.
The faster the better.
A whole other direction there. We'll chat.
So rituals, sanctuary, so that there's a dedicated space, physical, environmental space for the exploration, for the unfolding, for the work to actually occur, because it is unbelievably important, and it has helped us a ton. Even when, and just to be clear about this, is that at the beginning of COVID, I mean, we really took like 3 or 4 months off for all intents and purposes. Like, we weren't really working in any way, shape, or form. And now we're at the last quarter of the year, and it's freaking busy, and it's difficult to keep track of, and all those sorts of things. But the ritual, even when, go to bed or go upstairs and it's like, oh, we're done. It's like, no, do the ritual. And the ritual carries the weight of the day and the busyness and what used to cause the distance and the all those pieces. So ritual, sanctuary, and then the third part is dedicated. We'll call it dates and date nights. And you've written a little bit about it. I've written a little bit about it. And I got to tell you this, because 9 months ago, somebody told me that it's like you could heal your relationship and do something marvelous by doing more dating. I had rolled my eyes and said, yes, dumbass, thank you for that brilliant bit of wisdom and great ideas. Like, who'd have ever thought you could maybe date your wife? Yay. But that would be my cynicism based upon what we had fallen into. Mm-hmm. But I give you my word, and we will share a bunch of the pieces that we've done around what dates look like, how we set them up, what their intention is. At least once a month, we go on an overnight date. All through, during COVID, we had our own little hotel that they recognize us, because but it was just a process.
We'd have in our bag like a little speaker, snacks, food, wine glasses. we would go well equipped, packed.
But those three things as foundation. Now that's all setting context. That's setting context. That's not the content of the work that each of you has to do. And in the power between, we're going to do both of these pieces. We're going to help you to establish the context, the container within which you are going to reset your relationship. Then the content of what it is that each of you must face, deal with, talk about, get support with, all those pieces. That's going to be part of what we will help you discover and hold your hand through that process in those 3 days. I can tell you for certain, we can create a quantum leap forward in 3 days, because we have. Mm-hmm. But this is going to be something that you're going to need to dedicate yourself to far beyond that. This is something you may want to get additional support from. That we'll have some support things that we'll offer at the end of that, but we'll have a whole bunch of other stuff because it's going to be different, unique for everyone.
Right.
And I just want you to understand that it's two pieces. We have to build the context, and then we have to deal with the content, and that is the intention of the power between a relationship reset. What would you add to that?
Yeah, no, that covered it all. I'm entertained reading the comments.
Michelle.
I think Tough Talks with Jay and the Naked Tax guy could go together.
Yeah, I don't think so.
What's the David Hayward? He's the Joshua's dad.
Yeah.
What's his thing?
He's the Naked Pastor.
The Naked Pastor. Get the three of them in. We need a woman in there.
Well, on a different note, there is we did get a hot tub through that process too.
We did. Yeah.
Which was part
it's
of
not here yet, but
part of the environment piece.
So I was thinking we could share the power between .us is
I put it up here just a moment ago. So
is the page you can go to if you're interested in finding out more, just to share that or to register or ask questions.
Yeah.
Contact us if you have specific questions that you want answered prior to jumping in. That's cool too.
Absolutely. And I think the other part, just to add to that at the end of this, is that I'm really pleased and proud of what we have designed thus far. And I think it's going to go exceptionally well. This is the first time we've delivered it in this manner, which I think is obviously pretty clear from the conversations. But the introductory price for this is only $997. It's only $997 for the first time through. I anticipate that our price point for this will be double that. It'll be $1997 will be our standard routine once we get through this entire thing once and get some feedback and some perspective and those sorts of things. It is virtual online, February 5th through 7th. For those of you who are registered already, you're going to be getting a monthly evening that is going to help set this environment and ritual and a bunch of those foundational items ahead of time. We'll let you know. And here's, the other thing about the significance of this is that it seems to, I think that people really need this. And literally, we just did one post even before we had the website done, and it was like, hey, here's a purchase link. And literally in 24 hours, we had 4 couples. So this is just the beginning of our first official, hey, this is what it is. This is how it goes, all the rest of it. So we would love to have you join us. We hold that you have the capacity to transform whatever is going on. And we would be honored to play a role in that because, I say basically on a daily basis that I am so thrilled and grateful for you and how we have navigated our way through what, frankly, I don't know that most couples could have or would have given all of the pieces. So the same gratitude and love I feel for her, I would love for each of you to feel for each other because it has been utterly game-changing. And
just to recap too about how we wish, we've shared this so many times with each other, that we would have reached out earlier and just been open to something like this, even support from, like counseling, therapy, another couple, just being open to another perspective and ideas on how to, bring your relationship to a 10 out of 10, if that's what you're looking for. It's important just to be open to that because we don't know it all and we get in our own little, you can't see the forest for the trees. It's hard. It's really, really hard when you're trying to do it on your own. Yeah. And not just us, but the other couples in the room. And I know I found this valuable years ago when we do the couples weekends, when people would share and discuss what they're going through. And so many times it'd be like, oh my God, like we're not alone. We're not alone. And how did you navigate that period of time? And there's some really cool conversations that can happen between people who really want to support and help each other.
Well put. All right. On that note, we should get hustling. So please come join us. If you have any questions, send us notes. Most of the people I've seen on here are friends and on our lists and all of those fun, wonderful things. So reach out or just click the button register because you know that you need something. And just know that we will treat you, the process, the creation of what your next version of your relationship is with the utmost of love and respect. So
Absolutely.
come play with us.
Yeah, please do. Looking forward to it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.